a long time. Okay, we did it. We're live. All right. We have another Thursday night. Man, Thursdays come so quick anymore, and I absolutely love it. I get so excited. Okay, for anyone who's watching who doesn't know me, I'm Brittany Brainstorm, and I am the creative director of Brainstorm Boutique. We help with creative strategies for small businesses with big dreams. And my sister Casey is here with me tonight. Casey is my creative partner in crime, but she's also our confidence coach, which is awesome. She has a really cool confidence coaching program. She's been helping small business owners, professionals of all background, finding that confidence within themselves to show up as they want to, which is going to kind of tie in, with some of the things we're talking about tonight. But tonight is not about us. We have a very special guest, Amber, with Salt and Light Social Media. And Amber, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here. Thank you guys for having me. I'm Amber. Like Brittany said, I own Salt and Light Social Media, and I actually work with a lot of similar people. That was funny that you're saying that, because I support small businesses. Usually it's like solopreneurs or like those small teams, and I help them show up on social media in a way that, is converting and works. But my focuses are really about like authenticity, staying true to yourself, and having fun. Like at the end of the day, social media shouldn't be stressful. It should be fun. And that's through either social media management, strategy, or like content planning, engagement services. So in a nutshell, yeah, that's what I do.
That's so cool.
I love it. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to talk more because I love social media. I love content planning. And it's so funny because I'm the worst when it comes with my own business. Right. I try so hard. Oh, we got a comment here. Demi Drew's watching with us. She says, hi, ladies. Shout out to Demi Drew. She's a social media manager also, and she does a fantastic job. She's going to end up being on our live, I think, this fall. So I'm excited to chat with Demi. But Jimmy, thank you. If you have any comments, throughout the show, be sure to leave them below. But Amber, I love that because sometimes it's so hard as a business owner to add that to your plate with doing social media. So what is kind of one of the things that you hear a lot when you start working with a small business owner?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm trying to think of the number one thing, because obviously there's quite a few things, but I think the number one thing I hear is, I might cheat and say two.
Do all of them.
So number one and number two in no particular order. Number one is a lot of people say they don't have time, which makes sense. It does feel very time consuming, especially if you don't have like a set structure for how you're creating content. So a lot of business owners come to me and they're just like, I don't have time, like hours and hours to be spending on social media, which aside, it doesn't have to take hours and hours, but that's a side thing. And then I hear a lot of people say that even if they are putting in the time and showing up, their content isn't necessarily reaching their goals or working in the way they're expecting. And both of those things, like I already am like, if this was you, it does not have to be that way. Those are definitely the things I hear most. And that's kind of why I am so passionate about helping these people, is I truly, truly believe it does not have to take hours and hours and hours. If you have a focused strategy, content creation plan, it does not have to take hours. And then, if you're showing up and you're not confident that it works, it doesn't have to be that way. And I think it's all about really aligning in on what are your goals, because a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm not reaching my goals. And then they realize that their goals are actually not super defined, or they're just creating content because they're trying to get more likes or more followers, and they're not necessarily thinking about those needle moving things for their business, like bringing more income, more clients, more conversions, things like that. So those are probably the things I hear the most.
Wow, that's so spot on with that one thing. How I even feel about my own social media sometimes. So actually, I want to back up just for a second. before you started your business, like you've been doing social media, right? Even in like the corporate world.
Yeah.
Can you give us just a
Wow.
little brief background on that?
Yeah. So I have been working in social for 5 or 6 years now, which
Oh, wow.
is insane. Yeah. And I started, it's kind of funny because I actually originally wanted to go into journalism, but social media, I sort of stumbled into it because honestly, they both are forms of storytelling. And I just kind of fell in love with the way that social media invites two-way conversation in a way that journalism doesn't. And journalism is it's an amazing career, but it's a super crazy career that I realized it wasn't for me, and in a way that social media is. And so I started in the sports industry. I actually spent, now that I'm thinking about it, like 4 years in the sports industry. I started taking just like at first in college, just taking little jobs, wanting to learn about it because I studied it in my courses. So the courses were very project focused, which I really appreciated. And then I started working in my school's information department. I love sports. I knew I wanted to at least try working in sports. And then I eventually moved on to get an internship at ESPN. That was an incredible experience. I'll never forget it. Yeah, it was an incredible experience. And I learned so much, not only about social media, but how it all plays under the whole marketing umbrella, because I think that's something that's a little side note, but I think sometimes people think of social media in isolation. With that. And then I worked like full time with the US Tennis Association, still in that sports field. And it was in that job that I realized I wanted to do what I do now. It was the pandemic had started, everybody was home. A lot of small businesses realized I need to have an online presence. So then people, me personally, realized, oh, you can help me do this. So I started helping people. I literally was charging people like either for free or like nothing, just because I was like, this is fun. I have time. I'm at home. I'm not doing anything. So I started completely as a freelancing on the side. And then I realized, I mean, now I know so many people who do what I do, but I didn't know that. Like when I started, I did not realize that this was like a viable career. I just was kind of doing it for fun and because I wanted to help like small businesses around in my area. And then I realized like I was having way more fun doing this. So my partner is so supportive. He like was like, let's just do it. Like this is the time. I don't have like we don't have like children to feed or like major bills to pay for or anything. So he was like, just do it now. And it's definitely not as easy, I think, as some people get out to be. Just honestly, but at the same time, I just I would never go back. I mean, and do it different. I'm super grateful.
Great.
I love that. We got a comment from Demi. She says, I wanted to go into journalism too. Our origin stories are so similar,
That's
Amber.
funny.
I love that. You know, journalism is actually such a strong foundation because if you know how to research, how to share facts, and how to spread that message and tell the story, it just translates in so many different ways. So I think journalism is a fantastic foundation for anyone. Oh, we got a comment here from Vanessa. She says, hi, Amber, and my favorite curls. Vanessa, thank you for tuning in tonight. If you have any comments for your friend Amber, be sure to drop them below in the comments. But well, I absolutely love that. So so we're kind of similar in the way that we both were doing what we're doing professionally, and then whenever the pandemic started, it kind of gave us the ability to see how we can transition that into an online space. Which I think is going to be like the perfect segue to my next question for you. And Casey, if you have anything to say, just jump in over me. But one of the things is you're doing social media, right, for others that you probably have always done quietly behind the scenes. And now it's like, I have to show up on social media to find my ideal clients now, right?
Yeah, was a bigger adjustment than I thought it was going to be, because honestly, I am an extrovert through and through. So the like talking with people, that part I know was difficult for some. It's not for me, but I underestimated how much, like, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert or what, just putting yourself out there is like terrifying. Like I go back, and I actually, it's funny because I cringe, but I smile at the same time when I look like in my stories archive and at my first post and my first reel, and I can tell, I can tell that I'm uncomfortable, but I think it's because I remember how uncomfortable I was doing it. But I also, so that's why I cringe, but I also smile because it's insane how much like confidence I've gained just doing it. Now I will be in front of my friends and I'm like taking stories and they're making fun of me, and I just like, I feel so much confidence in the way, like it makes me more passionate about encouraging people to show up and just be themselves online, because it sounds so like I'm overplaying it or dramatic, but literally like the confidence I've gained just from putting myself out there in this business, it's carried over into my life, into my relationships, into just like my everyday life. So that's like, I think that's why I'm just so like obsessive about like wanting people to show up on video, in their captions, being vulnerable, because it helps create confidence and that like synergy between like your business and your life. Because you know, everybody says like work-life balance, but it really is about like how can you make those integrate together. So that was kind of a ramble, but yeah.
No, I love it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that when you see business owners who kind of pass that off to their employees to show up for them, it's really hard for me to respect the business the same way whenever I see a business owner who's like, I'm going to take this on because it's my baby.
Yes.
And like they let the employees support the culture, but the business owner should be establishing that. They shouldn't put it up to their employees, because it's really crazy, because then an employee quits and then your quality wavers a little bit. The brand story is being told a different way. It's like, no, you are the pedestal of your business. If you want your brand to be the same way, or your story to be told robustly, it should be you. People want to go in there because you own it, not because so-and-so works there. It really bums me out when business owners don't do that for themselves.
That is such a good point.
So Amber, what do you do to help businesses? Because one of the things, you know, I put in the caption was talking about being able to show up authentically on social media. And I know you do content planning. I know you do put together content for them, but ultimately, like, do you give them support and then them showing up on their social media, or how does that look?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think the main thing that drives helping people show up authentically, because like I said, it comes more naturally to me than some, just because I am extroverted and I am like, I grew up in the age of social media in a way that not everybody did. But so I think it's really about meeting them where they're at. For instance, I have like you just mentioned, I do like a content planning service, and some people just aren't going to dance in reels. Some people aren't just going to talk for 8 slides on their stories. Some people aren't going to share their secrets in their captions. That's just not where some people are at. So it's all about meeting them where they're at. So for instance, let's say they're like, I know I need to show up on reels, but I don't feel confident that way. Maybe we start out planning some first person view B-roll reel, or it's just a regular song and it's just you and some text on the screen. Or even like if you're not comfortable, like I have a client who's not comfortable showing up live, so she just pre-recorded the IGTV and then posted it that way. So it's really about building up from where you're at and hoping that you can get to that place, but not create because if you create unnecessary expectation of like you need to be at a 10 and you're at a 2, they're never going to jump. Like you need to help them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is so true. Casey, I feel like Casey doesn't do social media planning, but with her confidence coaching, it's kind of similar, where it's like meeting people where they're at, like they don't feel comfortable speaking, you know, or they don't feel like they have anything to say. And then Casey, you kind of do that where it's like you're meeting exactly, like meeting them exactly where they're at. And I think sometimes we have all these, like, we see those people who are where we want to be, but we don't realize how many baby steps they took to get
Yeah.
there.
Exactly. I mean, like, I feel like people look to, Bill Murray, and they're like, oh man, I want to be like Bill Murray, like just get up there, be super cool and suave and not care about what I look at. And it's like, have you read books about Bill Murray? Do you realize how much that dude has been through, how much money he's poured in, how many friends he's lost in the process? Like, there are years upon years upon years of compounding learning and drive just to learn one specific thing, and that's acting. Like, you're not just going to get there overnight. You're not just going to become Bill Murray. You just need to become yourself and what that means. And yeah, I think that's something that is something that people really lose sight of.
I'll give a little background because I don't know if Amber knows this, but Casey has comedy background, comedy training in improv school.
Yeah.
So
that's
Bill
why I
Murray
said Bill Murray.
Because
That's
he's such a
awesome.
brilliant,
People want to
hilarious
be Jack
actor.
Black and Chris Farley in my field. I'm not trying to be Brad Pitt.
Yeah, and I mean, what a field that's a field you certainly need confidence in. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's, even just like working with like different comedians, like when people get to like their first class, whenever hearing those things, they just like walk in and they're like, bow, 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 like I'm going to be this and amazing. And everything I'm going to say is a joke that's going to hit. And you quickly find out that's not true. You quickly find out that there is form, there is structure, there is game, there are things that take you to a place to where everything that you can say is a joke and get a giggle. And just kind of like with what you're saying with like people being authentic on social media, it's like there are things that you can do. There's a muscle you can squeeze. There are ways that you can build up to that moment. Like, you don't just expect people to right out of the gate be doing 40-minute lives,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's really interesting. I love seeing how a lot of these things like overlap in like different practices, but it all comes together. One of the things that I do find interesting is how you're able to get people to the point where they can start doing reels. Because Amber, I'll be honest with you, I don't do any reels. And you're out there killing it on reels. Like, I'm always like, Amber always has the funniest reels, and like she always has like some humor in there, or it's just like really relatable. And so I aspire to be like you one day. So I might have to get a consultation because I'm like, I don't even know where to start with a reel for myself. Like, I could brainstorm ideas for everybody else, but sometimes it's just so like you're so busy helping other people that you don't get to see in your own world,
Yeah, you just get too close to your own business. Like,
Yeah.
definitely.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, like, well, first, how true is that? That we focus on other people, we forget to focus on ourselves. That is something that I'm definitely not going to figure out tonight, but totally agree. But honestly, even with the Reels thing, and this is kind of going back to what I was just saying, it's about figuring out what works for you. So like for me, I love to just like joke and find funny audios and bring my dogs in my Reels and things like that. But for some people, like for instance, I have a friend who her Reels are amazing because she is artistic and she uses high level videography, and she does Reels of her making her coffee that are just like with the perfect song. I can never, like, I'm not a videographer, and but that's what works for her. I have another friend who she does a lot of B-roll, first person view, her out with her children, and that's what works for her. It's all about just finding, like, we can look at someone else's, their reels, their posts, their stories, and be like, oh, I love their stories, so I must do that. But is that true?
Yep. Girl.
Yeah. So going back to, Didn't left a comment or a question. She goes, how do you emphasize the importance of video on social media without overwhelming your client? That's a really good question.
That's a really good one.
Yeah, that's a great question, and how relevant right now, because right now I mean video is everything. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's making it approachable for them. So for instance, one of my clients this is a social media management client. They're very corporate. So how I get them to show up on video is way different than how I get like the fun young solopreneur to show up in Reels. So for my corporate client, if they're not ready to show up real time in video themselves, I might do a series of graphics that like I animate together into a video, because that is a video, but it's approachable, it's bite sized for them. Another thing I do with this same corporate client, and I've done with others, is they're not very comfortable with like showing up live on video, but they can talk about any topic on a Zoom interview. I interview them, I record the Zoom, I cut myself out, and then I just post the recording of them on Zoom. It does great. Yeah, and
That's smart.
is it the highest quality video? No, but it's better than no video at all, because for them, that's what's approachable. And maybe one day we'll work up to like these amazing high production videos, but right now they're not there. And same thing, like I have another client who most of the content that they give me are photos. So I just turn those photos into like animation or videos and just making it approachable for them. But I might have other clients that are like content planning clients where for them, their idea of showing up on video might be much less frequently than my idea of it might be. And we might be, and I think this is like, it's becoming a recurring theme. I feel like I've said that, like meeting them where they're at.
Yeah.
But I think that is like, maybe they're not where I'd like to get with their content, but how can we take them one step farther every month or so?
Yeah. I love that. I think what can happen, especially for service providers, when we know what works best and we know what we want to do, sometimes it's easy to put our expectations on others rather than realizing, just because we know that's what needs to happen doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. And so sometimes like adjusting even our own expectations, right, for our customers and our clients, so that way they're happy and they're seeing progress, but they're not stressed out about it.
And I feel like too, it kind of rips the inauthenticity away when you say like, if some guy, if like Bob's Burger, we'll call him Bob's Burgers. But like if we're like, oh, like the guy from Bob's Burger should be getting on a live and super excited and super exuberant, people who know Bob would be like, that's not Bob. Like, that's not why I go in there. And then they go in there to go meet with him. And they're like, who's that guy that I saw? Like, what was that? So it's kind of like letting them tell their own story with like, the expectations of social media. I think it's really smart. I think the Zoom thing is like brilliant. Honestly, I've never heard of that. And it feels like it would be so familiar as a user to see a Zoom quality something. I would probably stop to watch because I'd be like, oh, it feels like a familiar thing. Yeah. It's not just like an influencer feel.
Absolutely. Vanessa, she left a comment and said, how can I make myself feel more comfortable doing Reels? And I love her emoji because it's like,
right?
Sorry.
We are all that emoji.
We're all that emoji right now, especially with Reels. That's the emoji for Reels, for the newbies.
Yeah, it is.
Amber, I'll let you.
That is exactly how it feels. There's a lot of ways I could go with this. I might repeat myself a little bit.
Go for it.
But I think it's, like I said, going back to baby steps, it's instead of looking at, let's say the trending reels are like super complex, or their dances, or their audio is really hard to lip sync, that might in your mind be that ideal of like, oh, well, everybody else is doing that, I need to do that. Sure, but if that's not a comfortable, fun experience for you, if it's stressful, then is it really worth it? Because that it truly does convey, just like Casey was saying, it kind of takes the authenticity away if that's not who you are. So I would say, honestly, start with like what you're comfortable with. Scroll through your Reels feed for a while until you're seeing a ton of different styles, because I think we get very stuck on like the lip syncs or the dancing. Those are popular, but that doesn't mean they're the only options. There are other options, like doing actually a really easy way I recommend starting is if you have something that you put on your story that you find people are receiving really well, or you just really like it, or it's being really engaged with, download that story video and post that as a reel just to get
hello, never thought about that.
Yeah, and I have one client who we do strategy together, and that's how she started, just like getting comfortable posting reels. She added just like a fun quick little text and some song that she liked, because that's how you get started. And even like I think it's my first reel, it's either my first or second reel, where it's quite literally just like me on a weekend trip just recording little things that happen, because that was what I was at the time. So, and other ways is like, if you're not comfortable dancing to music or lip sync audio, but you're comfortable talking about a topic that you have expertise on, there are so many, my own and others, really well-performing reels that are quite literally just you talking about a topic that you have expertise on. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. So I think that would be the main thing. Like, it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. You can just talk. You can do first-person video. You can download a story that you like. You can just literally, I mean, there are some reels where it's just the person sitting there, the thing they want to say above their head, and then at the end of the reel. It can be so simple.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. I love all these tips. I think that's so smart. One of the things I want to ask you, because actually Demi asked a question, or had a comment, so I'll go and share it first. She said, the way I became more comfortable in front of the camera is pretending that I am famous, and I give this advice to everyone and never go, Demi, you are famous. I swear her name. I'm like, Demi Drew. She has the name for Hollywood. Vanessa said thank you. Vanessa, I'm so glad you asked that question. It was very insightful. I swear, Demi, you are famous. I love that so much. Vanessa says, I am famous, Demi, in my head. Aren't we all in our own little world?
Yes, main character.
So, that's right. We are the main characters in our lives, exactly. So Amber, when someone's putting together a reel, and say you're like just talking, is it best to include a trending audio in the background, or can you just share, whatever? Because I know that trending audio has a lot to do with the algorithm and, its popularity. Maybe I just assume that, but what are your thoughts on that?
It absolutely, if it is a possibility, you can just add a trending audio and you can turn the volume way down. Kind of like a lot of people do that on TikTok, and it's kind of carrying over to Instagram now, because that feature was added relatively recently. But yeah, adding audio, turning it down so it doesn't drown you out, definitely is something that I would encourage. But I think I don't know how to say this I definitely don't want to downplay the importance of having quality audio. But I think some people think that's kind of the whole pie, where it's just like a piece of the pie. So I think like if audio or finding the right audio is holding you back from sharing reels, I wouldn't let it stop you, because honestly, my best performing reel has no trending audio, has nothing. It's just me talking. So I don't want, it's important, but I don't want people to think like, if I don't have this piece of the pie, then it's not worth it.
So really, and this is just my philosophy with a lot of things, like you just have to play around and you have to see what works for you and see what happens. Like it sounds like you could be strategic, like, like the recipe, or, really analyze things. But a lot of times that is what holds people back and what turns them into copying other people rather than being themselves. So I like that, Amber, that you would just encourage people just to do it. And if it flops, it's what it is, but at least you have that practice under your belt to go and do the next one.
I really quick, going back to whenever you said that, just like talking about something that whenever you said that, it reminded me that one of like my favorite TikToks that I've ever seen was this woman who was like, she was an accountant maybe, but she just like sat there and she was like, things that feel like they should be illegal, but they aren't. And then she very quickly summed up what an SCorp is. Like very quickly.
Yeah.
And I had no idea anything about an SCorp, and I mean, it was a viral video. And I remember going through her profile and finding out that most of her videos, like, you know, like they went up and down, like not all of them hit. But since you said that, I was like, that's what that girl did. Like, I know what an SCorp is now. I can tell you what one is, and I loved it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. So putting focus back on you, Amber, what were, trying to form my question. I should have my questions written out, but I want to be spontaneous, okay? Whenever you decided to start showing up for your business, how did you decide what was authentic for you and what that voice for you was?
That is a really good question. And honestly, it's not one that I've ever thought about the answer to. So I'm definitely being spontaneous, like you.
Yes, spontaneous.
Honestly, so what's really funny is the first thing I realized is the first pieces of content I made, I actually don't feel like they were authentic to me, because I do feel like I was just like, what's everyone else doing? And I started doing that. And then, so part of it is definitely just figuring out as I go. And this sounds, it's not a super tangible answer. So I know it's not super like fun and like you can't write it down.
That's okay.
But, once I accepted this is who I am, I started my business because I want to have fun and I want to enjoy it and I want to do what makes me happy. If watering down who I am just so somebody likes my content, that's not me. That's not authentic to me. So I think first was just that mindset shift of like the right clients will appreciate me for me. And I mean, same part of that, like same mindset acceptance was I realized that the content I love the most is people just being people, not people being better, not people being, you know, the idealized version of whatever they think they should be. So I think first, definitely that mindset shift. And then second, this is slightly more tangible, is really like actually writing down just like, this is me, this is my business, this is who I serve, this is what I want to do with my business, because my business was much smaller at this point. This is what I want to do. And then just kind of thinking of like the content that serves me now, but also content that serves where I'm trying to go. And I think that really helped me like instantly make a huge shift. It's just like, these are the people that I'm trying to speak to. This is the audience that I want them to see my content and be like, yes, I needed this. This is for me. And I think like instantly, as soon as I got more aligned on like my audience and where I'm trying to go with my business, it helps me create content that makes more sense rather than just like, oh, this person made this post that I liked, I'll do something like that. Oh, I feel like I should say something about this, but actually thinking about like, okay, who am I with my audience? What am I doing with my business?
Yeah.
Amen. Okay, so there's so much I could say on that topic because I think we have survived the world of influencers, the era of influencers where you had all the same kind of looking girls, you know, with their little mugs, with their little laptops on their cute little beds, with the same hat,
with the same initial in it.
I know, with the flowers, and which is fine. But it's like, I think seeing that and seeing the popularity of that approach for so long has made people feel like, if I'm not posting like that, if I'm not posing like that, if I'm not typing about this, tagged here, this shout out to this brand or that brand, then I don't have a space online. And if I'm not generating like tens of thousands of followers immediately, then I'm just not valuable, or what I have to offer doesn't matter. And okay, that was a tangent, but it's like,
it's so true.
We've gone through this period of time where everything was so curated on social media, from like the colorways and things. And like, I love that stuff as a brand strategist. I love it. But at the same time, I have seen it hold so many people back.
That is so
And
true. Honestly,
I want to end it.
right? So when you went on your little tangent, I was kind of laughing because this is literally like, I look back and I'm not even embarrassed just because it does remind me of like where I've come. This is so funny to me now. I don't even remember where we went, but I remember this was not long after I had just gone full time in my business and my family took a vacation. And I remember literally being disappointed in myself because I wasn't doing this like laptop, like I brought my laptop, I was going to do my work and I wasn't doing this. I felt like I wasn't living this laptop lifestyle that I see entrepreneurs doing online. It wasn't working for me. I couldn't focus and I was hot. I was sweating. I was outside. And I was just like, I can't do it. And now I look back, I laugh because I'm like, I mean, for some people, maybe that works, but I'm like, that doesn't work for me. I need an office. I need, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Actually, Demi just left her. She's the girl with all the good questions tonight. Actually, Vanessa had great questions too. But Demi asked, can you talk more about taking inspiration versus blatant copying? That's a great question.
Love that question.
That is a really good question. Ooh, I'm like, how can I say this or that? Like, I don't want to. Everybody makes mistakes, but
yeah.
I think definitely, obviously, the biggest thing is intention. But that is such a gray area that I really don't think, like, you can say I didn't mean to copy, but that doesn't mean it's not. Like, imagine being in college and plagiarizing paper and being like, okay, well, it wasn't the intention to copy. Okay, well, you still plagiarized it, even if it wasn't the intention or not. So I think, honestly, the difference to me is you can definitely take inspiration, and most of us are. I think that's so beautiful about this space. But I think the difference is, would you have thought of these words, this topic on your own? And are you thinking about on your own? Because I think if you're truly if you're coming up with content, however you come up with content, for me, it's usually when I'm walking my dog or I'm in the shower that I think of post ideas. I guarantee you every single post that I think of and come up with, I'm sure somebody's done before. And that's okay because it did come from me and it truly was authentic to me. But if you're looking at other people's posts and you're making your own version of it, that's not you, those aren't your words, and it truly won't reflect authentically off of you. So I think that's super important to notice. But like I said, it does go back to intention. If you know you're copying, or if you are worried that you're going to be caught for copying, then probably don't post it. Give it some time. Think about how, does this truly reflect you? How can you change the copy to match your own experiences and your own learned expertise? That's it's tough though. In the online space, it happens so much. So it's
and even when I went to school for graphic design, one of my instructors told me, and this, I'm not going to say how many years ago, 11 or 10, I don't remember. Anyways, he said, there's nothing new under the sun. And that was then, and that was before Instagram was even a thing. And so now, we have access to so much visuals that we really never had before, on a constant, it's just constantly generated on there. One of the things that I always actually tell some of my clients is record yourself talking. Just start talking about what it is that you want to highlight, record it, and then type it out. And then what is that nugget that sticks out in there that you want to use and that you want to share? Because sometimes it's in us, and when we're looking at our computer, to type, it can actually paralyze us versus just having these conversations, or maybe call have a friend over. Okay, I just want to talk about this topic and record this real quick because I need it to be more natural. And and that's how you can breathe that authenticity into your writing, because social media is also a word space thing too. With your captions are important on your post as well, in addition to the photos and the videos. So being able to find a way to share your natural voice I think it's so easy to look at what other people are writing in their captions and like, oh, well, how can I kind of keep the same structure, but just, with what I want to say. And then it can end up feeling so forced.
Mm-hmm.
But with all that being said, so the other thing I want to talk about with you, because I feel like all of this just kind of like domino effect. So I'm so glad all of this aligns so well, is when you start your business online or you're showing up online for a purpose, you get to decide what that success looks like for you. And we have to really forget about all the lovely influencers before us, the brave new world people who went forward and forged these unrealistic expectations for so many of us, when you started your business online, Amber, or just, decide you want to show up online, how did you start determining what success looked like? Like, did you have an unrealistic expectation and then have to reassess it? Or like, what was that process like for you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I definitely do think I had an unrealistic expectation at first. I think, kind of going back to what you said, just like all the influencers and all the, scaled to 6 figures in 3 weeks business coaches and things like that, they painted this picture for me that I would say when I very first started my business, I wasn't aware of that whole space quite yet. So when I first started my business, I didn't really have any goals. I was just like, this is fun, I'm figuring it out. But then when I came to set goals, I genuinely thought I needed to make 6 figures within, 3 months or whatever, like ridiculous. I don't remember how long, but just kind of all those numbers. And don't get me wrong, for those of you who are doing that, amazing, good,
amazing.
For me, like it just made a picture that it almost made me feel like I had failed if I didn't. And it's more like you've incredibly succeeded if you did, but you haven't failed if you haven't. It's I think of my dad as an entrepreneur. Wildly different. He owns a roofing exterior renovation business. And it took him 10 years before I was like, oh, we're in a solid place, like with income and financially. Like I got a firsthand view at the reality of it. And it took me a second to reconcile those things, that just because my business isn't online doesn't mean I'm not going through the grind of entrepreneurship. It can be the laptop lifestyle and all that stuff you want it to be. But I realized that for me, I didn't want to have to work 8-hour weeks to get to a crazy financial, or a high financial goal. That's for some people, if they have the freedom and they want to do that, do it. But I realized for me pretty quickly on that I would rather just, make enough to support me, but also have the time to. Today, I took half the day off to go to IKEA with my mom and my sister. Why not? Tomorrow, I'm taking it. Normally, I don't take this much time off, but tomorrow I'm taking the afternoon off because my parents wanted to go boating, and that for me is more valuable. Life, balancing life more with work, especially my health and wellness are super important to me. I knew for me, I don't thrive if I if I'm not rested enough, if I'm not taking time to make healthy meals, if I'm not able to take a day off, or at least an afternoon, morning sleeping in off once a week. So yeah, I think for me, I had to really align with my goals don't have to be everybody else's goals. But also, there's really no right or wrong goals as long as obviously they're ethical and they align with who you are. So yeah, kind of rambled, but you get what I'm saying.
No, I love that. Dibby just commented. She says time wealth is greater than monetary wealth.
Yeah,
and I absolutely agree with you, Demi.
I feel like hustle culture has really set a bunch of unsustainable and unrealistic ideals, especially on our age group. And it's really interesting because those grind or die people, are they turning 95? How old are you gonna be, bro? Like, I can't, this is unsustainable. You're literally like drinking Monster and Gatorade to like, survive. And then you hear afterwards with the boys, it's like, I literally don't know if you're gonna turn 90 like I am.
Wow.
I don't
Vanessa
understand.
just commented, this is so informative. I'm glad, Vanessa. This is why we're having this conversation. Actually, me and Amber were like on his, virtual coffee date on Zoom, and we started talking about these things. We're like, I'm not really hearing many people talk about this, because like Casey, like you're talking about now, that's like classified as like bro marketing, right? It's like the flashy cars, having them like, buy my course to find out how to get to 6 figures and and they have like their Porsche or Ferrari or whatever. And the other thing too is like, it's all subjective to where you are and where you live. And like you were saying, Amber, like you want to have time to sleep in at times, you want to have time to go to IKEA with your mom for fun, you want to have that time to cook a healthy meal. And if you're literally working from sun up to sundown, which I am guilty of a lot, I will admit, I'm very guilty of that, but whenever I have a day like that, I realize like, oh my gosh, did I actually drink water today? Yeah. Did I actually go out and get some sunshine? Like this is why my houseplants die, because I can't even take care of myself with the basics.
I think that what is like grossly misinformative to me whenever people promote that as like, be jealous of me, I think that what is so grossly misinformative is that it's saying that that's a good life, and these are good life choices. And they're not telling you what their doctor says, and they're not telling you what their wife thinks of them, and they're not telling you if their kids like them, and they're not telling you if their dog is healthy, and they're not telling you if they take time to center themselves. And I think that is, all you see are the highlights of the car, and all you see is the highlights of the house. And we really don't know if working hard is what got them those things. We are brand story shapers. We know that there's a way to manipulate through imagery and good ordering and what they're wearing and how they look, in order to create this like facade of like, oh yeah, man, I worked like 1 million hours a day and this is great. Like, I'm out partying afterwards, and then I woke up at 6 a.m. and went on a jog. It's like, I don't think you did, Daddy. I just don't. Physiologically, I don't think you did.
Yeah. Time is finite.
Yeah, there's no
it's infinite, but it's finite.
There's no way you can do it and be healthy. Like, you're looking at like a 35-year-old who's gonna have a body like a 105-year-old in like less than 2 years. It's unsustainable. That's why we don't do that. That's why med students who really do have to push themselves to those limits are like really doing bad mentally. Like, their mental health is like really poor in that kind of thing. And I think that it's one of those subjects that like people don't really talk about, is like, whoa, dude.
No, seriously. And I feel like one thing, like, you really hit the nail on the head with, I shouldn't, but I have tons of days where I sit down right here in the morning, right as I'm getting my coffee, and I don't leave until I walk my dog and get dinner and stuff, but I barely leave, and then I go to bed. But the difference is, we all have days like that, but I look at those days, not in a negative way, but I don't look at that as a win. I look at that as a dang. Like, even a couple nights ago, I love my partner. He said, you've been working too late. Tomorrow, you should do your best to like be done after dinner. And, so, because like you said, we get stuck in that hustle culture of like, I gotta do this. This is how I succeed. No, if you grow a little slower, but you love your life, that's not failure. That's winning.
Absolutely.
Amen.
And that's what. So go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, you think about like when, like, before the Industrial Revolution, if we can go back this far.
Oh, we're getting history, folks.
we were really just guided by the seasons and the sun, and we ate when we were hungry, and we, you know what I mean, like that sort of a feeling. And things did go like quote unquote slower, because not every second had to be like a capital gain, and not every second had to be monetarily productive. And I feel like that's just like the way that you stay connected, like with yourself and the ground and the food that you're eating, and, you know, with like the life that you want to lead, is just kind of being like, you know, right, like I don't work in an office. Like I can work when I feel like I'm going to be the most productive to work, and then go do that. Like keep your promise. Like don't betray your promise to yourself and your clients or anything else. But I don't think, like, Brittany Wynn posted a meme today. Brittany, you might have seen, but it was something about like whether you wake up at 10 a.m. and go to bed at 11 p.m. doesn't make you a bad person. If you wake up at 5 a.m. and go to bed at 8 p.m., it doesn't mean that you're a good person. You know, like letting your body like take the rest that it needs is going to make you love your life. It's going to make you love your job, and it's just going to make you do a better job because of it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Oh, Rocio left a comment. We love Rocio. She was on our live. She did a great live about
she's great.
It was like overcoming your fears. It was really fantastic. But she said, "Love your life, so inspiring."
Rocio's,
I know, I love Amber's life.
she's a minister who has this really, really inspiring message, which is do it afraid.
Yes.
And it's so wonderful. Like it's so good. Yeah, it's really, really good.
That was a really inspiring
something, but yeah, you should.
It makes me want to go back and watch that later. It was so good.
She's so
I'm
good.
I'm so glad you're watching with us tonight.
Yeah.
This just makes my day. But you know, I think you know, we're in this weird time where we are challenging like the normal structures of like, you know, capitalism, if you will, and you know, all these different things where, you know, with the internet, with, you know, digital spaces and digital marketing ourselves and things like that, like we do get to kind of step back and be like, you know, is this really the way things have to be? And then how do I create for myself what I want? And, you know, one thing, like a lot of people have this idea that like they're not going to monetize their Instagram or their Facebook, or they're not going to hit that financial number unless they have 10,000 followers. Like 10,000 has become the thing because you get that swipe up feature, right?
Yes.
You can make money on social media with literally less than 500 followers. Like you can. It's if you are connecting with the right people and building the right community who needs you and who aligns with you, you do not even need 1,000 followers to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know if you've heard this before. This is definitely not my saying or story, but you can have 1,000 followers or 10,000 followers that don't buy anything from you. They're not engaged. You can have, if you have one follower that is super engaged and they buy everything, you can make, you know, $5,000 a month off of one follower if they're that engaged. And I mean, I think of even myself, I can use other people, but just for simplicity's sake, even myself, I had like 100 followers when I like, you know, was first growing my Instagram, but I had 3 clients, but they were all really like, well, like investing in me, well paying clients. Like 2 of them I still work with today, and they keep adding on extra projects, and they've actually like multiplied.
Wow.
Yeah, our partnership together. And I think because I had that experience, that made me even more like, I preach Paul's message of like, follower count literally doesn't matter. Like I mean, it just, I could say it over and over again, like follower count, it is just a vanity number. I understand that like for some reason we want to tie like our worth as a business to our follower count, but it's just a narrative I absolutely want to break for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
One thing that I think is really interesting too is like, let's say that every single follower equals a buyer. Can you really fulfill 10,000 orders right now?
Right.
Like, can you really, is that really feasible? Can you do 100? Can you do 200? Like, let's say every follower equals buyer.
Yeah.
Like, we couldn't take on
we
200
couldn't.
clients.
No, absolutely not.
we couldn't take them on. There's just we don't
I want
have
to,
enough
but
hands and brains.
I gotta hire more people real quick. Well, and you also have to give yourself room to scale, to get to that point. But again, okay, I feel like there's so many themes this Amber, like the meeting you where you are, like you have to meet your business where you are.
Yes.
If it's just you have to be able to do what's sustainable for you. And I'm guilty of wanting to say yes to everybody, and then Casey's over there like looking kind of like, no, you have to say no. And it's just like, you're gonna stretch us out to like my project manager said, no, we're cutting it off here. But if you don't have someone like that to keep accountable, you're like, yeah, sure. And then before you know it, you stretch yourself so thin that you can't give that customer experience that ends up bringing that loyal customer back, and those referrals that are just like priceless to you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know a business owner who his entire business structure, like he doesn't have his contact on his website. The whole deal is just to get in that circle, and he creates excellent reputation within people within that circle, and then they refer him to somebody else in that circle because you trust that circle. It's a big circle, but like without revealing everything that's going on, but then another person tells another person, and he widens his network just a little bit, little by little, and it's all super, super high quality stuff. And he gets such a niche client, and they absolutely love him, and he knows because, oh, you're friends with so and so, yeah, I'm gonna love you because that person's only friends with high quality people, so we're gonna match working together. And I really respect that strategy of just being like, okay, we found our ideal client, now let's just work around here for a little bit and create a community and spin that for a little bit and not worry about all this stuff over here. And like bringing in that authenticity of like who they are and when they present themselves online and all that jazz. I just think it's so important not to just try to just go over there and just scrounge up whatever money you can. It's like, it's not all going to be a high quality dollar.
That's so good.
Yeah, you can't guarantee the good testimonial. You can't guarantee, that you're not going to get some crazy Yelp review because it's like, what are you even doing in here, honey? Like, you don't even belong here.
Okay, Amber, I have to ask you this. Have you had a client or like an inquiry that wasn't quite the right fit, and you were able to like decide or make that assessment that like actually it's not doing us a service to work together? It would be a disservice to work together?
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely it's happened one time where we had like a discovery call, and I knew from the call. Honestly, I kind of knew before the call. Shame on me for even getting on the call because I don't like to waste people's time, but I wasn't sure. And I knew from the call that it wasn't going to work out. And then I've had another client where I just reached out and I just felt like it was, they were very understanding, but I just felt like it was best in our partnership. And those are both mostly centered around boundaries and I think seeing the value in the services I offer. I think as providers, we want to of course, why wouldn't we just want to bring on clients, bring in that income? But it's essential. I feel that you need somebody who knows the value of what you're going to provide, because if you have somebody who they are questioning why they're investing this, or they're questioning what you do, or they're pushing you constantly for the return that they're going to get, don't get me wrong, ROI is super important, but if they're, I guess I should say it's past just ROI and they're needing to be convinced about everything that you do, that probably is going to stress you out more than anything, and probably truthfully isn't going to be worth the income. Respect is just huge. And so I think those respect for what I do, my boundaries, and just seeing value in what I as a service provider can offer your business. If those things aren't there, then for me, it's just, I know that we'll both be better off because that's stress taken out of my life, but also time that I could devote to a client that is supportive of what I do. And then for that person, it's just, for them, like, it's never any hate toward them. It's just, they might need to be investing in something that they already see. They already think for them is like the right next step.
Right.
Yeah, that's so good. At the beginning of the year, I had signed on 3 clients, and like I was really, I was excited to have, these 3 clients. But once I started like getting closer and closer to starting in and putting that time on their project, and these conversations were like suddenly ideas were shifting, and like their goals shifted on me, and suddenly it was a completely different project than what we originally started. I had to make the decision to cancel my contract with 3 people literally like within the same week, unexpectedly, and give them a full refund. Like for me, I just didn't even want to like keep a retainer or nothing. Like I just wanted to just just end that and move forward. But then whenever I did that, it was literally like the next week, like my ideal client landed in but if I had kept those 3 clients, I wouldn't have had the capacity to even consider this other client. And I think sometimes, with that feast or famine, or, the scarcity and the abundance mindset, all those things, if we're so focused on what we have here and now, that we don't actually assess, like, is this truly a good fit for me? Because if it's not a good fit for me, they're not going to be happy. I'm doing them a disservice, when you actually take time to be like, I'm going to have to say no, and either try to find a right fit, or just be like, hey, I don't know, you need to go and look in this direction. That can just open your life up. And to me, like, true success for me personally is having the freedom to say yes and no on everything, in whatever way, just yes or no. If I don't ever, like, I've gone through the time in my 20s where I always felt I had to say yes to get by. But now it's like, I feel like I can finally say no. And it's nothing personal. It's just, no, this doesn't align with me.
This is not part of my journey today.
This is not part of my journey. Oh, Josh Benson commented, oh, I'm so glad to see Josh in here. Patience for the right fit is so hard.
And it's
Josh, you're so right. Josh was on our live last week, and he is amazing. Amber, if you ever get the time to have a little road trip to Southern Illinois, him and some other really talented artists have been creating a mural district in our downtown that's like so phenomenal. It's just bringing so much joy to our community. And he had a really good we talked about imposter syndrome last week, so that one was like so good, which I think actually aligns perfectly for this conversation about authenticity and what success looks like for you. And I know I've been rambling for a little bit, but Amber, I want you to tell me, like, I know you're making a life of flexibility for yourself, but what does success look like for you in like the next, like just next year?
So I've been thinking a lot about this. So I won't have a perfect answer because I'm actually sort of kind of doing some reframing of the same thing. Like I am allowed to say what success is like for me. I don't have to.
Yeah.
So success for me looks like, I mean, it will totally echo some things I just said, but it looks like flexibility, and it looks like being able to be my happiest, healthiest self. Like that's what I think about when I think about success. I love working. I actually love what I do, and I can't ever see myself in a place. Some people, they thrive in a place where their business is so scaled that they don't have to work every day. I truly do want to work. But for me, it looks like the ability to prioritize my happiness and my health, and just my overall wellness. And if for me, like happiness and wellness that day is working all day, that's great. If for another day it's going to go run 10 miles and then come back and like make a healthy breakfast and then work a little bit, that is success for me. And just having my business support what gives me happiness. And for me, like I said, you and I talked about this on our call, like for some people that is a higher income. For me, it's not as much. It's just like having the freedom to like, yeah, I'll go out. I'll go to eat at this restaurant. Yeah, like these jeans, like I know they will bring, like they'll make me feel happy and confident in them, like things like that. And just, yeah, having that ability to just like really like be holistically well in my life. Same thing with my faith included. Like I want to be able to like integrate my faith into like my work and my life and just have time. It looks a lot like time for me, to be honest. It's kind of the note we said before.
I love that.
Love it.
Casey, I'm curious, what is success? I want to know. Anyone who's watching, comment what success looks like for you. I really want to know. Casey, what does that look like for you? I don't even know if I've ever asked you that question.
Okay, imagine if you will. Lime green Lamborghini. I'm in it. The newest iPhone, whenever it comes out. Engraved.
The second.
Sell it.
Hey, you know what?
Honestly, like success for me looks like complete, like I'll have a kid, and I know they'll have a good life. I feel like that's success. I feel like that being at the financial place to where like financially, mentally, spiritually, health, you know, like you're talking about, to be like, I'll have children and I know that they'll have a good life. I'm confident that I would be the best for them. That would be ultimate success. That's all I want.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so deep. Oh my gosh. I love that. That's so great. You know,
what about you?
Me is just being able to say yes or no. You know, I feel like,
so you're already successful. You did it, girl.
Well, you know, there's still times, you know, where, you know, I want to say yes. Sometimes I don't know if I'm quite there to the point that I want to be yet, but I'm working on it for sure. I think that, but also I'm just going to be real. I want to take a nice long vacation every year. Like we had our first real long vacation. It was long for us. It was a week. Yes. Like that was the first time we ever complete. We did not bring our laptops. We literally did not work. Like we got our selfies. We did our cute stuff on our phones, you know, but we literally like sat by the water, laid in the sunshine, ate all the inclusive food at that place, you know, and a couple of years ago, that would have seemed so unattainable to me, you know, and now I'm realizing like I can make those financial goals and those time goals to actually make that a realistic thing every year. But I think my ultimate idea of success is have a nice week-long vacation, like every season, you know, 4 times a year.
To put the trip, like how it felt to be on this trip in like perspective, I literally like every day would, because it was a luxurious room, girl, like Instagram wishes that they got to be, you know what I mean? Like all those girls would just love to be in that room. And it was really nice. I would lean back in the bathtub with like some fuzzy bath bombs and fizzy bath bomb, not fuzzy, that'd been weird, and watch like episodes of Schitt's Creek in Dominican Republic. Just like literally, I had like my Voss water bottle and like Laura bars.
So bougie of you. I love it.
It was like so bougie, but like things that I could do at home, but only I'm doing it like in the Caribbean. And it was just so much fun. I 100% recommend doing whatever you do at home in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Don't change anything besides the location.
Needed, is all I'm saying. We got some comments here. Okay, I'm so excited. Dimmy says, success to me is being able to fully provide for my family. Yes. They deserve it. Oh my gosh. I love that. Yes. I think that's so true, because especially like parents, like they've worked so hard to give us the lives that we want and to set us up to reach those goals and those dreams, and to be able to be a point where you can give freely back, I think is the ultimate idea of success. And so Demi, I absolutely agree with that. Josh says, success for me is being able to put your time and energy into your passions as your profession.
Yes.
That is so
That's a good
true.
one.
Yes.
And Josh, I feel like you are doing exactly that, especially like at our, community level. But whenever we talked live last week, I felt like it was a message that could resonate with people anywhere. And I see you as successful. So it's interesting to me, like what that idea of other passions may be for you. And Marcia says, Brittany, you're doing way better than what many of us did in our 30s. You rock. Thank you, Rosia.
Awesome.
I want to preface that trip, budgeted hard for it. I am not like this. I'm not ready to have another trip like that for a while. But there are these gosh, I could talk about this like all night, honestly. But Rosia, she said, success for me is bringing people closer to God.
And Rosia's absolutely
Amen to that. Rocio, okay, so Amber, I'll tell you this. Rocio she's from Mexico. She's married to a wonderful man in our community, Russell. And so she's come to Marion, Illinois, and she has started a bilingual ministry called Churros and Chocolate. And it's amazing because she's bringing, the Spanish speaking community together with the English speaking community, giving them a space to feel welcomed and loved and seen, while also, being able to expose some of us who may not have been a part of a bilingual community, being able to make those relationships and all those things. So Rocio's doing amazing things.
And Rocio too is like such like, when I think of like somebody who's living authentically, like being able to like being a minister in Southern Illinois and still being like, listen, like I'm a bilingual person. I am, primarily like first language Spanish speaking, and this is how I'm going to deliver my messages. And I want you guys to hear them in Spanish with an English translator. And she does it, and she does it really well. It's really good. She's an excellent writer. So whenever you hear her speak, the translator is translating in English for English speakers like me and Brittany. But when you remember the sermon back, because the translator is very talented in speaking in English, like conveying emotion, you remember it in Rocio's voice. It's crazy. Yeah. You don't remember it in the translator's voice. So it's like, I love how she's built this community that is so uniquely her idea, her like her, and it's such a gift to everyone. It's excellent.
It really is. I know I kind of missed a couple of them, but I'm hoping I get to go to the one at the end of this month. It really is. It's really fantastic.
Good. Yeah.
We could just like love on all the people who's commenting tonight. Like, and I don't know Vanessa, but I like want to like know more about her so I can like talk about all the great things about her. Rocio says, love you guys. You two are too kind. We love you, Rocio. Oh, it makes my day. So Amber, I know we've dominated a lot of your time. Your husband's probably like, what the heck? Where's my wife? When did she disappear? But I want you to be able to tell people like how they can work with you, because if they are looking for someone who can dedicate solely on social media and helping them bring that message authentically, like they can work with you to do that, and let them know how.
Yeah. Honestly, the easiest way to find me is on Instagram. I hang out there the most. It's at saltlightsocial. And I think it's tagged too in the Facebook post. If you don't find it, you'll find me somewhere. But yeah, you can hang out with me on Instagram. Just send me a message. Like I said, I mostly support like smaller businesses, solopreneurs. So if you feel like you struggle with showing up on social media, whether it's because of time or confidence or lack of knowledge, please connect with me and we can get on a strategy call, or I have a content planning package where I just kind of tell you like, okay, you tell me your goals, I'm going to take that, I'm going to run with it, I'm going to plan you a month of content. That's a blast. I love doing that too for people. And also, I like to make this clear is that like every business owner has a different budget. So if you're not in that space yet, and you'll get there. Well, I mean, I think everything has potential and you got to invest. But if you're not in that space yet, please just come hang out. Send me a DM. I genuinely like to my core, love just like learning about you, making friends, learning about your businesses. So please just like come hang out. And I mean, even like that's how Brittany and I became friends. I was just like, you're cool. Let's be friends.
And I'm like, you're cool. Let's be friends.
Yeah, love it.
Mutual love for each other. Amber, it was so wonderful having you on here. Casey, do you have any questions for Amber before we let her go?
No, I think I just really respect what you do, and I really like your message.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was genuinely a blast.
I love it. Well, maybe we'll have to do a part 2 later on and hear more about, I don't know, there's something else we can talk about, Amber. I know it.
Right? There's so much.
There really is. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm a big fan of yours. So, this is not the one and done conversation. I'll be messaging you later. So, all right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and hit the end button, guys. So it was so wonderful. Thanks to everyone
Have a
who
good night.
watched
It was
tonight.
nice meeting you.
Bye.